Hello, I welcome you all to this ethics case study. My name is Lecture-1 Pratap-Approach and I have secured All India rank 597 in this UPSC 2023 examination. So today I will be discussing with you all the case studies that have come so far in this GS paper 4 since 2013 to 2023. So before rolling into the case studies, I will be briefly discussing about some of the techniques, some of the analysis and some of the trends that have came so far in this GS paper 4 about case study. Well, case study has been a very important and crucial part. We all know this. Every year around 6 questions is coming from case study, and that comprises around 120 marks, and each case study itself is 20 marks. So it has a lot of weight and candidates must give their time and dedication to cover this case study holistically. So before moving to the case studies, I will be briefly discussing and bifurcating the case studies into various aspects, and will be discussing about how we should approach the case study and what are the trends, just like I said. So, well, case study, as I start, can be separated into two components. First, we all have seen that case study in a paper is like this. Then there is question. So these are the two parts that I will be talking here. The first is the subject matter, and the second part here, the instructions. So subject matter and instructions, these are the two parts of a case study. Well, first talking about the subject matter, well, there are different subject matters such as civil services. I'll be just talking about all the subject matters. Then we have this corporate governance, then we have environment related case studies, and then some other case studies clubbed together like the RTI, whistleblowing, drugs issue, so on and so forth. So these are the subject matters. When we will be studying case studies, we will be looking into these subject matters. The questions that are coming in case studies are pertaining to these subjects matters. Like sometimes the question can be in 2014, there were 5 questions directly coming from the civil services area. Then we have this corporate governance. Time to time some corporate issues have come surfaced in the market, and based on that there are questions pertaining to or related to corporate governance. Then there are environment issue. Then there are case studies that combine these two, or RTI or civil services, combination part is also there. So these are roughly the subject matters. That is the first part of the case study. The second part is the instructions. Well, the question has been given, the subject matter has been discussed. Now we are being asked questions. So what are the instructions? So basically they are options available. Then there is course of action. Then ethical dilemma. Issues, and so on. So roughly these are the instructions that are being given in the question, and so we will be decoding all these things, that what instructions are basically, what has been the trend of instructions, when we are supposed to write something and when we are supposed to avoid something. So these things will be discussed in this. So moving ahead, second part is the trends. So talking about the trends, since the paper has been introduced in 2013, 2014 and going till now, I have roughly decoded the paper into various trends, and likewise. So in the initial phase when the paper was introduced, options and reaction is what they had asked in 2013 paper. Then as the paper progressed in 2014, the options, this dominated. If you will look into the 2014's paper, you will find that options part, it dominated. Around 5 questions, in around 5 questions they only asked options. Okay, then this 2015 to 2019, there was similar kind of pattern in which options went out, and it was mostly the course of action. That dominated. Okay, so you can see how things have been progressing. In the first initial phase, options and reactions were there. In the next year, in this 2014, options dominated. In around 5 questions, options were only the dominated question. Then from 2015 to 2019, options just went out. I mean, there were hardly any questions that had options in it. Mostly it was the course of action that was dominated. So those who were preparing in these phase, they had prepared more for this course of action and not for the options, right? So again UPSC introduced this option in 2020, right? So those who were preparing for this, they certainly got this again. I mean, moving back from here to here, this options part again. And with this, there were additions like course of action and then some other aspects. Then in 2021, this evaluation dominated, that options will be there, then evaluate, and then best course of action, or best option. This thing dominated. And then in 2022-23, this ethical dilemma. This was in 2022's paper. You will find that ethical dilemma was present in every question. Around 5 questions had ethical dilemmas directly mentioned into it. So ethical dilemma along with ethical issues, and this option part, option evaluation. So this is how has been the trend of these instructions beginning from 2013 to 2023. So roughly I had decoded this. Now I will be discussing this length. Length is very important. Length is very important in case studies. Based on length, you determine that how much time is to be allocated for studying a case study and writing the answers. For example, if you allocate around 12 to 13 minutes, or let's say 14 minutes have been allocated for case study. In that 14 minutes, you will be giving around 4 minutes to 5 minutes in studying this case study. understanding the option, all the questions given in the case study, and then in the next 9 minutes or 10 minutes or so, you will be writing this case study. So here length of the case study becomes very important. So since the introduction of this paper, the length was normal in 2013 to 2014. It was normal. The size of the case study, when you will go through the previous year's question paper, you will find that the case study's length were normal. In 2016, it was the shortest so far. In 2016, the case study's length was shortest among all the years that has been asked so far. And this trend continued 2017, 2018. Again, the length was normal. But since 2020, 2021, 2022, the size has increased, the length has increased. And in 2022 itself, you will find that the case studies are so lengthy that it covers the entire paper. I mean, entire page is being covered by the case study. Earlier, there used to be two case studies, around roughly two case studies in one single paper, but now they are putting a lot of data, facts in just one case study and making it a long story. So this has been the trend. Now, why I am telling this, the crux of telling you this is, when the case studies are shorter, you find it that it is easier to read the whole case study. But the thing is, then you have to apply your mind. You will have to gather information, data from yourself. And when the case study is lengthier, it might find cumbersome to read the whole case study, but there you have all the data, facts and figures given in front of you. Everything is being mentioned in the question itself. You just have to look into the question and just put it from there into your paper. That's it. This is the difference. This is why I have given you analysis of the length of the case study. So when the case studies are long, just keep it in mind that everything will be given in the paper, and I just have to recognize the things and just put it in on my answer. When the case study is small, then you have to apply your mind. This thing happened in 2026. Well, candidates, they had a lot of time because the case studies were short, but then they were not able to produce answers because they were not prepared for it. They thought that everything will be given in the case study and I will just put it from there on. But this didn't happen. It was short and the candidates had to use their own mind. So this is what happened when we come to length of case studies. Now I'll be talking about this instructions part. Like, I have decoded the instructions part mainly into options and course of action. Now, when options are being asked, then you are supposed to write the whatever you have option available to you, right? It could be likewise. Well, the thing is, this does not require a sequence. When options are being asked, you are not supposed to let all the options or write all the options in a sequence manner. It is not required. You can write anything. The sequence is not important here. But when we come to course of action, there is a sequence required. You cannot write anything anywhere. I mean, it has to be something like this, right? Going from here to here. This is a sequence. When we come to course of action, you cannot write randomly anything, anytime, right? So this is how I have decoded it. So one thing that can come into mind, that what constitutes the first step or what constitutes the last step. I mean, how we can figure out that this is going to be the first and this is going to be the last. There is a dilemma in this. There is confusion, and some people can say that this can also be last, this can also be first. Well, a rational mind says that there is a slight distinction between what comes last and what comes first, right? For example, you can confuse in this part and this part. This and this may look similar, so you can interchangeably write this course of action first and this second. But there is a difference between this and this, right? You cannot say that this can be the first course of action and this will be the last. For example, let's say there was a case study in which there was a journalist who was working in a media company, and the journalist was working on an assignment. The assignment was that there was a lot of illegal sand mining occurring in the district. So the journalist had covered the whole story and prepared a report. In that report, the journalist found that the local mafias were involved in that illegal sand mining, and along with that, some politicians were also involved in that issue. And one of the politicians had a stake in the media firm in which that journalist was working, right? So when the journalist handed over the report to its senior, to his managing director, the managing director right away said that you just have to throw that case or whole report into dustbin. You do not have to publish it anywhere. Okay, just keep your mouth shut. So the question was asked that what you are supposed to do in that, what will be your course of action, since you have a media ethics in you, right? You are honest and you want to uncover the corruption which is going on. In that situation, what will be the logical course of action? So in that course of action, in that case study, you won't be directly jumping into that, yes, I will be exposing the corruption by publishing the report in media directly, because that will jeopardize your job. There was also a hint given that the journalist was supposed to have a increment or a promotion if he keeps quiet. Okay, the promotion was pending, and if he keeps quiet, then he will get the promotion on time. But if he tries to publish that report, then obviously he will have to face the consequences. So this was the issue. So in that, the crux is that you won't be directly jumping into this part, that yes, as a journalist I will be exposing the corruption by publishing the report in the media directly, right? So the first logical step here could be that you will be sending that report to your seniors above that MD or whosoever was the senior of that journalist. If that doesn't work, also you will be contacting the concerned minister of the department and will try to convince him about the ongoing corruption. Whatever is going on is not good for the governance also, and is not good for the political image also. If that also doesn't satisfy, then you will be trying to visit this, say all the government organizations, that is CBI and all those, whosoever is concerned to this investigation, you will be trying to approach those agencies. If that doesn't work also, then you will be trying to take outside help, that is NGOs, and writing anonymous articles in the paper, just trying to gather public support. And if that also doesn't work, then you will be directly exposing the corruption through publishing the report in the media. So this is how it is a logical course of action. Instead of, so you itself can see that exposing the corruption directly by putting this report in the media is the last option, is the last resort. The first is that you will exhaust all the internal matter, internal way. So this is how the approach should be. This is what I was talking about, the course of action. It should be in a gradual way, increasing upwards, and this should have a logical sequence to it. It should not be random. Whereas in the case of option, it could be random. You can write any option in the beginning and any option in the last, any option in the middle. Here it is also advised that you write at least 3 or maximum 5